All right, so right now we're talking about Keller, Texas. Keller's 25 minute drive, maybe not that much, but it's right here and it's bordered by 377 on the west, which is this. Let me just get my little marker here. Here's 377. Right here, you got I-35 here. Here's Denton up here, just for a point of reference. That's the heart of Dallas. Here's downtown Fort Worth. So we're on the north side of the town. Now, when I zoom in, you can see, like I mentioned, on the west side of town, 377 is going to be one of your main thoroughfares to get to and from Keller. But then when we look at the city from east to west, there's another main road that you need to be aware of. So this is called Golden Triangle, turns into Keller Parkway and ends up dumping out onto 114 as Southlake Boulevard. But it runs through the whole town from east to west. So let me just get my marker again. I'll show you. So it goes from I-35 all along right here. And then, as I mentioned before, so you got golfing, you got parks, you got schools, restaurants. This area right here is old Keller right here. So let me zoom in just a minute. This spot right here. So you've got fine dining, you've got live music. This is the old town field right here. They call this Old Town Keller. You got the Keller Sports Complex right next door. Around the corner, you got a Sam's. Sam's is right over here. And so this is going to give you, the best of the best when it comes to dining for what Keller has to offer. It's really good. Keller is a great place. They've got a ton of places to eat, great schools. Price range is really good. You can get in for under $300,000 and the sky is almost the limit in terms of what do you want. It really is up to you with the options that are available. But great schools, great community, tons of activities, parks all over the place. And then the next thing we want to look at is, we went, just edit this out. Okay, so 35. We went from west to east. Let's go north to south. So 820 is going to be the next major freeway to the south. 170 and 114 are going to be up here on the north side of town. And that's going to take you out to DFW, or if you want to get to Dallas, depending on where you're going in Dallas, or if you need to get up to the Star in Frisco to go do some cowboy stuff, that's up in this area over here. So Keller, as I mentioned, has an entry point anywhere from below 300 and up. Let's take a look at it. And here you have it. So we've got the lowest in the last 90 days. The last 90 days are going to show you, activity in the area. There's quite a bit. It's about 140 something houses that sold. And this house, 212, this is a great starter home, great neighborhood, zoned to wonderful schools, top rated schools. And then you got the next place. This is the biggest house that sold within the last 90 days. And then another property, beautiful new construction. So like I said, you've got anywhere from low 200s and it just goes, they're all over the place. 300, 552. This one's 1.2. This one's 745. Here's 327, 389, 770, 489. And then on the other side of 377 right here is 330, 440. And you go a little further north, the price is going to go up. Now, the areas where you will see the prices consistently higher is right here by Bear Creek Parkway. The reason for that, this is Sky Creek Ranch. This is a golf course community. So as you can tell, these houses right here, they're going to go for a little more. As you can see, they're all a little bit higher priced, upwards of 500, anywhere from, 750 million, 900, 890, see right there, 631, 720. And then when you get on the north side of that road I was telling you that went from west to east, Southlake Boulevard, then you got some that are a bit more economically priced. 637, that's an older home, it's been redone. Here's one, 858. That's a newer subdivision over here. Now, when you start going further north, as you can tell, there aren't as many houses. The neighborhoods and the lot sizes are bigger, so you're going to be paying more for that, but you get more for your money. Definitely get more for your money on, on the north side of town. 517, 463, 1.8, 1.7. So like I said, you've got a wide price range when you go to Keller, and the school district's fantastic. The one drawback that I'll tell you about Keller, having lived there for 9 years, the one thing that can be frustrating is the commute. Depending on where you need to go, where your location is from work to the center of Keller, it can be, just because if you're in the heart of Keller, if you're by Sky Creek, you've got anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes before you're at the freeway. So that's something to consider when you're looking at Keller. That's really the only drawback to Keller, because the price to entry is so low and the range is so versatile. It's a really, really great place to live. That is the one drawback if you're in the heart of Keller. But if you don't have to commute, if you get to work remote, then it doesn't really matter. But if you are going to commute, I would strongly consider that. All right, let's move on to the next. Welcome to the dining capital of Texas. Roanoke, Texas is the dining capital. And let me show you why. You got places like Hard Eight Barbecue, Big Zaddy's Burger, the classic, if you want fine dining, Los Compadres for the best Tex-Mex Roanoke has to offer. I mean, this place has everything. Not to mention a great range and community feel. The price range is awesome. Roanoke is one of the best and absolute wonderful places. You talk about small town feel. This place has everything. Hawaiian Falls, you get your water park. I mean, you're right down the road from the Texas Motor Speedway. I don't know how it gets any better than that if you want to go Texas hardcore. So if you're thinking of moving to Fort Worth, North Texas, this is a destination you want to check out. So one thing I'll note is you got freeway access at just about every turn. The great thing about Roanoke is it's right on the freeway, but it doesn't feel like it when you're in the town. It feels like you hopped in a time machine and you went backwards, enough to where everything just slows down. It's really nice. Everybody's friendly. There's always events going in Roanoke. And, it's one of those just fantastic places. You're going to love it when you visit. And even if you don't move here, it's a great place to come eat. And it's right around the corner from Keller. It borders the north side of Keller. We were just down here. Here's the heart of Keller right here. And it's just a couple minutes up 377 and you're right here. So Oak Street, this is where you want to check things out. Let me zoom in. And where's my marker? Oh, I got to clear that out. Somebody needs to do a better job of fixing that stuff. I think we're going to edit this. All right, so let me point out, this is old Roanoke right here. I need to zoom in a little further. Okay, here we go. All right, this is it right here. So Oak Street, this is the main strip that goes right through the heart of Roanoke. And you got all the restaurants and everything you want to do is right here. This is the town hall on the south side of town, right there. Yeah. All right, cut that last part out. All right, so now let's take a look at where we're at in the freeway. So 170 comes up from 35, 114 goes across, and you're maybe 15 minutes. You go right down 114 and you're at the airport right here. So if you're in Roanoke, you just hop on 114 and come right around here and boom, you're at the airport, or boom, you're at the airport. So it's right there. And even if you're not going to DFW, which this is DFW, by the way, DFW is right here, a little bit further around 635, and you'll be at Love Field. And Love Field is going to be it's around here somewhere. Okay. All right. Okay, let's take a look at some houses. So, like I said, Roanoke's smaller, so we're not going to have as many houses. But if you look, 380, so a little higher price point, a little bit higher price to enter. And then this neighborhood right here, I believe this is Fairview. I don't know what this is called. Okay, you're going to cut this part out. Fairway Ranch. This is one of the newer neighborhoods right here. This is Fairway Ranch. Right here. This is Marshall Creek up to the north. This is an older part of Roanoke, but the city limits stop right there. So if you look back on our other map, the city limit borders right there. But the price to entry, you got 380, and then you got it goes up from there. But these houses, new construction, this neighborhood's fairly new. There's always something coming on the market. People are moving and upgrading and job relocation, and just like everywhere else, people are moving. So there's always opportunity. And really, if you want a slice of Texas, I don't know what gets more in Texas than this property right here. I saw this and I have to show you. This place is actually amazing. Oh. So this home right here, this is 29 acres. Oh, no. I was wrong. It's 31 plus acres. You talk about somebody just bought themselves a real slice of Texas. 31 acres, you're right by the lake. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. That's pretty amazing. All right, we're going to the next. Pause. And here we have the great town of Trophy Club. Trophy Club is the actual footprint of Trophy Club is actually smaller than Roanoke, even though it may not appear to be. It actually is. The size of Trophy Club is less than 4 square miles. The population is a little bigger than the city limits of Roanoke, but it's a really small town. But this place is amazing for a couple of reasons. One, you won't find a landlocked town where you'll have better rated schools. It's in Northwest ISD. So is the city of Roanoke. They're both zoned to Northwest ISD, and these are top rated schools. But Trophy Club has one of the most unique features in that it was established as a golf town in the late 70s. And it was actually not actually a town when it was founded, but it became one later on. So anyways, this is one of the coolest places because it doesn't get more small town America recognized for planting the most flags per person in the entire United States. They go all out with their patriotism. This place is amazing. So we're, again, right on the freeway, great access to DFW, the airport right here. You're right by Grapevine Lake. So if you want to go fishing, boating, all that, and like I said before, for my golf enthusiasts, you got one of the best courses. Byron Nelson himself helped design the course, and it backs up to the Corps of Engineers. There's all these lines that you see right here. These are all hiking trails. All this. Some of these are horse trails. but I mean, it goes all over the lake. You can literally get lost on these trails. If you like the outdoors, you like to golf, you like to be active, this is the place for you. So let's take a look at some of the real estate that's available in Trophy Club. So within the last 90 days, you got about 67 sold homes, but the price to enter it's on the lower side. It's not as much as you'd think. This property sold for 355. This one sold for 470. I mean, they can get pricey, but there's not a bad neighborhood. There's not a bad spot in Trophy Club. You know, the thing with Trophy Club, one thing I'll mention out. Let me just pull up my marker again. Let me mention this. So when you come in, there's 3 points of entry to the town. That's one of the things that makes it unique. So you come in off 377, Bobcat brings you right by the high school, and that brings you into the main road, Trophy Club Drive, which the next point of entry is off 114 right here, and you're gonna come in and go north on Trophy Lake. There's a roundabout, go around there, and that's gonna bring you around Trophy Club Drive, and it just keeps going. And then when you get out here, it dead ends here, but if you take another left on Trophy Park, now you got lake access, and I'll show that to you in a minute. But when you come up here, there's a dog park right there. There's a dog. All right, my drawing skills aren't very good. That's all right. But the green here, this is the golf course. And like I said, it's designed in part by Byron himself. So what I'll show you too is, you can go up. The price point is pretty diverse. These houses, like I said, start building in the late 70s, and there's still some new construction available today. And so everything at your fingertips, everything is right around the corner. Dining, there's some restaurants. I would say if Trophy Club has a drawback, it's that there aren't enough restaurants. But if you notice, you're close, where you're 5 minutes from the dining capital of Texas, people. I mean, come on, you can't really complain about that. You got the dining capital as your neighbor, and then so you've got everything. Like I said, it's one of the crown jewels of suburbs in North Texas for that very reason. But the main thing people move to Trophy Club for is the school system. It's so good. In addition to Trophy Club being rated the safest city in Texas, probably 5 or 6 years in a row now. So it is one of the greatest places out there. Trophy Club has so many different things to offer. If you have questions about any of these cities, be sure and comment below. Let me know what's on your mind. If we can help answer any questions for you, we'd love to help. And now we're moving on to Southlake. But before we get too far into it, let me just go backwards a little bit and show you where we've been. And that way you have a little better understanding of what I'm showing you. And I think you may be already on to the two things that I'm going to point out towards the end that all of these areas have in common, but you may be able to figure it out early. So we started out right here. We started out in Keller, right? So we were here, and then we went north. We went up to Roanoke, and then from Roanoke, we went over to Trophy Club, and now we're going right over to Southlake. So what we're going to talk about in Southlake is it's kind of a repeat of what we saw in Keller, what we saw in Trophy Club. Roanoke is the one place that doesn't have a golf course. So if Roanoke had a drawback, maybe it's that. But you're so close to everything else if you're living in Roanoke that it really doesn't matter. And again, each one of these towns, if you're talking Keller, Trophy Club, Southlake, each of them is, Southlake's probably the furthest so far from Roanoke. But again, Roanoke, it's the dining capital of Texas. So you really can't go wrong with each one of these towns because you've got everything that you could possibly need that's just a few minutes away. So depending on why you're moving to Texas, each one of these has its own value, and the price to get in. Again, we saw under 300,000 in Keller, under 400,000 in Roanoke and Trophy Club. And you're going to be surprised by something when we look at the price to enter for Southlake. But first, let's take a look at Southlake as a whole. How do you get to and from, and what are the good areas? Where do I want to stay away from? Let me just point something out. If you notice the north side of the map, so right up here, you got Bob Jones Park. This is all parkland. All this green is parkland right up here. But it borders Grapevine Lake. The interesting thing is Southlake has its own school district, Southlake Carroll ISD. And part of Southlake, which is about right here, this sliver of Southlake, you get the choice of going to Northwest ISD, Byron Nelson High School and Trophy Club, the elementary schools, the middle school and Trophy Club, or you can go to Southlake. It's actually zoned to either one, which is very unique in the state of Texas. So it has something to offer that no other city, Keller, Roanoke, or Trophy Club has, where it's dual zone, but it's only on this north section right here. So that's a unique feature. But again, when we look at it as a whole, look how close you are to the freeway. You're right here. You know, you're 5 to 10, 15 minutes, depending on the time of day and how much traffic. But even when there's heavy traffic, you're just minutes away from the airport. So if you like to travel, or if your job requires travel, this is one of the best locations. It's why Southlake has boomed as much as it has. The topography is beautiful, tons of parks, a couple of golf courses, great access to the lake. So this place has it all. Now, Southlake has something unique, and it's kind of the sister to Roanoke, where Roanoke is the dining capital of Texas. I would say that Southlake is the shopping capital of Texas. People from Dallas may disagree with that, but I'm telling you, people in Tarrant County, this is the shopping capital of Tarrant County, if not Texas. Let me show you why. So here's why Southlake is the shopping capital of, I call it the shopping capital of Texas. Now, you got Carroll Avenue. This goes up to 114. The freeway's right up here. But in this little, 15 block area right here, let me just finish drawing this out. So you've got, there's like 500 different stores in here. You got Del Frisco's Grill, so there's great places to eat. Del Frisco's Grill is right here. And if I zoom in, I should be able to show you where True Luck. So if you like seafood, steak, Brio Italian, great spot. That's actually a date spot for my wife and I. Chacho, Tex-Mex, Coach. I mean, this place has just about everything right here, walking distance. The cool thing with this whole area is the town square is in the middle of it. The town square is right here. You got this green space. At Christmas time, they'll have horse-drawn carriages. They do a lighting of the tree. All the buildings get lights. It's a pretty cool event. A lot of some vendors, some food trucks. Get your popcorn, kettle corn, all the fun stuff, right? And then let's edit that. And then let me get rid of my map thing. Okay. So you hop across the street. You got Central Market, one of the greatest grocery stores out there. More dining, more shopping. I'm telling you, this is the shopping capital of Texas. All right, let's look at some real estate. All right, so I mentioned the price of entry. This house sold for $375. Now, granted, it probably needed some work, but it's still, you can buy a property in Southlake for $375,000. This one just sold. And if you want something that's a little pricier, you can go up from there. The last house, $375, $370. That one sold for over $4 million. This one sold for $4.5 million. This one sold for 7.3. So I'm telling you, it's got a very wide range, probably the biggest top to bottom price range of all 5 areas. But when it comes to amenities, shopping, school districts, if you've got an athlete, Southlake School District wins championships. That is what they are known for. They win football championships. So if you've got a football athlete and you want to bring them to North Texas, this is the place to be. I don't know that there's another school that's won more football championships than Southlake, Texas. But if you look around at the price point, you're $1.5 million here, you're $1.7 million, 2.4, 1.2 million, 1.5. So most of your price points are going to be on the higher side in Southlake. But every once in a while, you'll find some. It's a really interesting neighborhood, 375 to 1.9 million. Who knows what's going on there? Okay, so this one's 3.3, 2.2. So you get the idea. This might be another, here we go. This one's 599. So older home probably needs some remodeling, but again, manageable. All right, so that's pretty much the terrain. That's the real estate. That's the shopping, and we're on to the final. Let's take a look. All right, this is Flower Mound, and I told you earlier it's got the biggest footprint, and it absolutely does. So we were looking at Keller. Keller's down here, right? City limits are somewhere in here. And then we went up, looked at Roanoke, and Roanoke's something like that. And then Trophy Club's about here. And then Southlake comes in. Southlake's something like that. Well, you could take Flower Mound and it would just about cover up all 3. I mean, they're the city limits. It starts here at I-35 and it takes you almost all the way back to I-35. Now, you might be asking yourself, how is it? You got I-35 and you got I-35. Well, this is W on the left, on the west, and then E35 east. So it splits, when we look at the map, it actually splits on the north side and the south side of town. So I-35 comes up from the Austin area. It splits right here just north of Hillsboro. One side goes to Dallas, one side goes to Fort Worth. So that's why. But look at how big Flower Mound's huge. But the population isn't that different. I'm going to go over population numbers and everything, and we'll tie it all together at the end. But I just wanted to show this to you because it's a large town. This has something in common with Keller. This isn't the 2 things, but this is something in common with Keller where, depending on where you're at in Flower Mound, it can take a minute to get to the freeway. So that might be the one drawback that Flower Mound has. But the upside with Flower Mound is that it has everything else. It's got a small town feel. It's got equestrian neighborhood. It's got golf course. It's got dining. It's got shopping. It has everything. You can even find a place to play racquetball if you want to play racquetball. There's pickleball courts. I mean, it literally has everything. Bridlewood Golf Course, Tour 18. It has a little bit of everything. Lake access. Lake Grapevine right here. Legoland right around the corner. Who doesn't want to go to Legoland? Raise your hand if you don't want to go to Legoland. Put in the comments if you don't want to go to Legoland. I don't want to go to Legoland. Somebody might want to. I don't want to. My kids are grown. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, so the lay of the land. So this, similar to Southlake, it's got a road that goes right through the middle of town. You can see this vein. Let me just get my marker and I'll show you. So you got 377, I-35's out here, and this is 1171 that goes all the way out to I-35, and it cuts through all of Flower Mound, and it'll take you out to the other side of the freeway. Now, if you need to go south, the other road is right here, and I'll cut this Long Prairie. So you got 1171 that takes you east to west. The other major road that goes up to Lake Louisville And further north is going to be Long Prairie, and Long Prairie goes right through the middle of Flower Mound and takes you right out. And the great thing is, Long Prairie, there aren't too many lights, and the speed limit is a little higher, so you can move through Flower Mound pretty quick. Most of that road is a 3-lane road, so it's a really nice way, and so is 1171. So both of these roads, when you're going east to west, north to south, great infrastructure. That's one of the things I absolutely love about Flower Mound. One of our offices is in the middle of Flower Mound. One of our other offices is in Southlake. And, the commute to and from, if I need to get to Dallas, if I have a meeting and I need to get to the north side of town, if I'm going to Frisco, if I've got an event to go to in Allen, if I need to get to the south side of the metroplex on the other side of Arlington, I've got freeway access that's just around the corner. But there are some neighborhoods in Flower Mound where you'll find yourself, getting stuck at some lights and some school zones, but that comes with the territory. So the offset, in my opinion, for Flower Mound is that you've got schools are rated just as high as they are in Southlake and Trophy Club. You've got just as many places to eat as the dining capital. Now the restaurants, it doesn't have the same feel as Roanoke, because Roanoke, you just can't replace the old town feel that it has and just the authentic aesthetic that brings. It's really hard to replace that feel, and that's why it's Roanoke is the dining capital. But Flower Mound has just as many, if not more, places to eat. They're just not as concentrated as Roanoke. But you've got golf courses, dining, tons of schools, churches, places to see live music. It has everything that you could possibly want. Each of these neighborhoods, that's why it's the top 5. There's really, the drawbacks are really not drawbacks. It's just, every major metroplex is going to have some of this stuff. But if you're coming from New York or California, you're going to think that the angels designed the roads here and freeways, because you can get across town in minutes in comparison to some of the areas in our country where, I'm just going to back up 30 seconds and delete that because that's rambling. Okay, so east to west, that's how you get through town. 1171 is the freeway that takes you out to I-35 on the west side over here, and then I-35E, I-35 East is on the east side of town, and then if you need to go north or south, that's Long Prairie. Long Prairie is a great road. It's easy to maneuver in and out of town, and again, you've got great shopping, you've got great dining, you've got new construction, you got older construction. But let's take a look at the real estate and see what's the cost to enter for the city of Flower Mound. Okay, what we're looking at here is the last 90 days. There's 205 sales. So again, it's a pretty wide range, and I was somewhat surprised when I was looking to see, like, what are these houses going for? Like, you got 539 here, 3.3 million here, and if I zoom in, this one's 302,000. So it's not as low as Keller, but the price to enter is pretty reasonable. This is first time buyer territory right here. So when I tell you that Flower Mound has a little bit of everything from each one of these cities to offer, it truly does. You got a property that's 2.1. Most of this up here on the left side of your screen, this is mostly new construction. These areas are either just built like within the last couple of months, or they've got more stuff under construction. So I'm going to, no, I don't want to say that. If you're really interested in new construction, you want to check out our new construction tour. That video is going to be coming out in a week or two. So be sure to stay on the lookout. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and if you have questions, if there's something I didn't cover that you'd like to know about, or if our team can help answer questions, be sure to put that in the comments. We would love to answer your questions. All right, let's talk statistics. So we started out with the city of Keller, and the city of Keller has, right here, the city of Keller has about 46,000 people. Top rated schools, you'll find some of the absolute best schools that North Texas has to offer. And again, small town feel, But the one drawback with Keller, as you can see, is it can take you a minute to get to the freeway. So my pros for Keller is, you won't feel the hustle and bustle as much in Keller as you would in maybe Roanoke or Trophy Club, because you are insulated from the freeway. But again, that's also the drawback where your commute might be a little bit longer. And then next up is Roanoke. Roanoke, so just north of Keller, and your population in Roanoke is a little less than 11,000. It's about 10,500. And again, Roanoke, dining capital, great school district, same school district as Trophy Club. It's Northwest ISD, and your proximity to the freeway, your proximity to everything in the metroplex, you can hop on a freeway and be there in minutes. So it's, again, small town America, and the festivals from the 4th of July to the holidays, it has so many different good things to offer. I can't say enough great things about Roanoke. And then next up, one of the crown jewels of North Texas is Trophy Club. Trophy Club is, it's one of those areas where, you can just drive right by it and not know. I've lived here majority of my life, never been to Trophy Club until I was in my, I think, early 30s. And once I saw the town, I just fell in love with it, and loved the people there. Very friendly, very diverse, and great school system. So, the one drawback with Trophy Club, not a lot of places to eat, but it does have dining. But you're 5 minutes from Roanoke. You're 5 minutes from the dining capital of the world. You're 5 minutes from the shopping capital of the world in Southlake, which is our next town. So Southlake, let me back up. So Trophy Club's got a little less than 14,000. It's a little bigger in population than Roanoke, but it still has that small town feel. And then Southlake, right here on the map, Southlake is going to come in at about 32 to 34,000 people. Borders on the north side of town, borders the Grapevine Lake, and of course you got golfing, you got shopping, you got events. The big event that Southlake is probably well known for more than anything else is going to be the Art in the Square Festival. And it's a fantastic, if you recall the square where you've got the town center, they do the Christmas lighting. That's also where they host the Art in the Square. And if art is your thing, I'm telling you, you don't want to miss out. That's coming up here in the fall. That's going to be a great time. And then our final destination is Flower Mound. Flower Mound's got twice, almost 3 times the population at 79,000. And their big annual event is the Independence Fest. They got fireworks, they got food vendors, they got stuff for the kids, they got bounce houses and games. So you don't want to miss out on that. But I hope that you guys have enjoyed the video. And if you have questions, please put those in the comments. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. I will talk to you guys next time.